Truth is objective, but people usually aren't. An argument that is in and of itself perfectly rational and valid will likely fall on ears deafened by prejudice, passion, ignorance, misunderstanding, incomprehension, or ideology. The latter reason seems to be increasingly true today. Usually, people seem to choose what to believe not by looking at the evidence, but by looking at ideological labels, such as liberal or conservative, or by asking themselves which group of people they want to be associated with. They also seem to choose what they want to believe based on vague feelings and associations evoked by an idea, rather than by looking at the idea itself and at the reality it points to. Let's dive into a mini lesson on logic. The structure of human reasoning manifests itself in three acts of the mind: 1. Understanding, 2. Judging, and 3. Reasoning. These three acts of the mind are expressed in terms, propositions, and arguments. Terms are either clear or unclear. Propositions are either true or untrue. Arguments are either logically valid or invalid. A term is clear if it is intelligent and unambiguous. A proposition is true if it corresponds to reality. And an argument is valid if the conclusion follows logically from the premises. If all the terms in an agreement are clear, and if all the premises are true, and if the argument is free from logical fallacy, then the conclusion must be true. These are the essential rules of reason of any field of argument. Now, the idea of objective truth, the fact that there is one true truth, is being ignored, abandoned, and even attacked today. It's overtaken by the idea of everyone having their own truth. We often hear the motto, "Live out your truth." This points to the exact opposite of an objective truth. Here on this channel, we hope you'll come along with us as we make a case for objective truth and invite you to look at the evidence for yourself. We hope to present you with a variety of logical arguments for the proof of the one true God and answer many points of confusion. Let's start with a big one: faith versus reason. Can you have one without the other? Are they both necessary? Are they mutually exclusive? Let's have a look. Arguments and reason can bring you to faith in the same sense that a car can bring you to sea. The car can't swim. You must jump in to do that. But you can't jump from 100 miles inland. You need a car to first bring you to the point where you can make a leap of faith into the sea. Faith is a leap, but a leap in the light, not in the dark. Let's hear it put in a different way from C.S. Lewis, a former atheist. The word faith seems to be used by Christians in two senses, or on two levels. In the first sense, it means simply belief, accepting or regarding as true the doctrines of Christianity. That is fairly simple. But what is there moral or immoral about believing or not believing a set of statements? Obviously, a sane man accepts or rejects any statement, not because he wants or does not want to, but because the evidence seems to him good or bad. If he were mistaken about the goodness or badness of the evidence, that would not mean he was a bad man, but only that he was not very clever. And if he thought the evidence bad but tried to force himself to believe in spite of it, that would be merely stupid. I was assuming that if the human mind once accepts a thing as true, it will automatically go on regarding it as true, until some real reason for reconsidering it turns up. In fact, I was assuming that the human mind is completely ruled by reason, but that is not so. So, what does C.S. Lewis mean here? Let's say you're going in for a surgery. You know that the surgeon will use proper anesthetics to ensure that you're completely unconscious before the operation, right? However, you begin to sense this panic inside of you, even though you know very well and with good evidence that you'll be fine. You start to think that they will start cutting you up before you're properly under. In other words, you lose your faith in anesthetics. It's not reason that is taking away your faith. On the contrary, your faith is based on reason. It is your imagination and emotions. The battle is between faith and reason on one side, and emotion and imagination on the other. The connection between faith and reason is easy to apply in many instances. Take a man who's talking to a woman. He knows that on perfectly good evidence, she is a liar and cannot keep a secret. But when he's with her, he begins to think differently. His mind loses its faith in that bit of knowledge, and he starts thinking, perhaps she'll be different this time, and once more makes a fool of himself and tells her something he ought not to have told her. His senses and emotions have destroyed his faith in what he really knows to be true. Or when we all learn to swim for the first time, our reason knows perfectly well that an unsupported human body will not necessarily sink in water. We've seen dozens of people float and swim. But the whole question is whether we will be able to go on believing this when the instructor takes away his hand and leaves us unsupported in the water, or whether we will suddenly stop believing it and start to panic and sink. Nobody would ask anyone to accept Christianity if his best reasoning tells him that the weight of the evidence is against it. That is not the point at which faith comes in. But supposing a man's reason once decides that the weight of the evidence is for it, there will come a moment when there's bad news, or he's in trouble, or is living among a lot of other people who do not believe it. And all at once, his emotions will rise up and take over his belief. Or else there will come a moment when he wants a woman, or wants to tell a lie, or feels very pleased with himself, or sees a chance of making a little money in some way that's not perfectly fair. Some moment, in fact, at which it would be very convenient if Christianity were not true. And once again, his wishes and desires will take over. Faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted, in spite of your changing moods. This is why faith is such a necessary virtue. Unless you can restrain your moods, you can never be either a good Christian or even a good atheist. Let's now look through a different lens that will show the connection of faith and reason in another way. Today, thousands of thoughtful converts repeat the same threefold pattern of discovery. A man seeks truth by unaided effort of reason and is disappointed. It's offered by faith and he accepts. And having accepted, he finds that it satisfies his reason. As you can see, faith and reason cannot be completely separated. Sometimes reason precedes faith, and sometimes faith precedes reason. And even in other instances, they go hand in hand. Faith and reason are not enemies, but companions in coming to conclusions and making sense of the world around us. We hope that you will take a leap of faith as well as use your reasoning mind to come along with us as we explore arguments regarding the existence of God, heaven and hell, and many more topics. We'll also explore the big question of whether Jesus Christ is the one true God. Have a look for yourself. We hope to see you in our next video. God bless you.